Well, it's a pleasant Monday, not too hot, so that I can get a few things done. I had to do my palm slashing duty just earlier, and I filled up the green wheelie bin with palm fronds and sliced them into workable sizes. So now it's just a matter of putting the normal garbage bag on top and cleaning it out. That I don't know where. I'm looking at the framing there. You can probably see that corner down there. That's where I've been cleaning out the excess fronds from. There's quite a big pile. There's another one over there, and there's another one there. So there's three of them. This one's pretty well cleaned out. So I'll move on to the next one, which I have actually already taken some stuff off. I estimated to be two major loads before I'd got everything under control, but I think that's a bit optimistic. I think it's going to be at least three. There's just so many palms still around that are depositing stuff, and I haven't cleaned up since I've been here. So I've only started conscientiously doing it for about a month, and it's going to require another three loads to maybe get on top of it all. But I've been moving dirt from the front. So that pile of dirt's not much smaller than it was. I've been sweating quite a bit the last few days doing stuff. Did a bit of potting yesterday, so that was good. I've actually taken the seeds from the capsicum plants that I grew. I left the seeds in the pod, so they're drying in the pods. A lot of people say you should put them on pieces of paper to dry out. I don't know why. I assume this will work as well. They were certainly easy to dislodge from the actual capsicum, the husk of the capsicum, and they look fine to me, but we'll see if they actually germinate. I assume that'd be a much higher success rate than store-bought capsicums. So these are the ones that I grew myself that have seeded, so we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see if they work. I mean, mind you, they've been a little on the small side for my liking. That may be because of the variety of capsicum that the seeds are. So maybe I should look at getting different capsicum seeds just to compare. However, at least there's a lot of small capsicums that are actually in my fridge now, and I'm going to get a pizza delivered tomorrow, a McCain's Supreme Pizza. It has this really sad looking capsicum strings on the top of the actual pizza. I'm going to put real fair income fresh capsicum on top. It makes all the difference. You just can't get by with that store-bought sad limp capsicum that comes with the store-bought pizzas. So it'll be the real McCoy, homegrown real McCoy. I've done it before and it works. It's really good. It's the best thing I use. Ultimately, I want to be able to use the capsicum to make my spaghetti sauce, but you need larger capsicums for that. So, or a crap load of small ones, I guess. So we'll see. But anyway, I'll have a pizza tomorrow night. So I've been good. I don't eat them that often. So yeah, they're quite reasonably priced. You get them from the supermarket on a special, about $5.50. So that's good. Well, it looks as though my overseas plans may be in jeopardy yet again. It's always been on a knife edge flying to Thailand because of all the bureaucratic hoops and roadblocks that they put in front of potential travellers. Now on top of that, now we've got the latest African corona variant that people are freaking out about, and who knows what the state governments are going to do here. I'm confident to continue on with my domestic trip down to Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. I'm looking forward to that, but I'm just thinking that the overseas trip right now is just not viable. There's too many question marks. What I was going to do is to get a Thai 60-day visa organised as of the 1st of December. Months before I'm travelling, but I thought the earlier the better. But now I think I'll just do a wait and see, because let's see how this latest variant pans out. It certainly has smashed the stock market. I really stuffed up there because I had those IAG shares and they went into profit pretty quickly, and I should have sold them. I would have made about 260, maybe 240, 260 range in net profit. which is okay. But you know, the old green greed, I thought they might keep going up, so I thought I'd hold on a bit longer. But now they've dipped way down today. The stock market's been thumped 2 days in a row now because of the worry about the latest corona variant. And it makes you wonder, are we ever going to have this normality again in our society? Are we that fragile nowadays that any scare, medical-wise, that goes through our society is going to basically cause us to fall in a heap? Because we can't keep living like this. We're going to have to toughen up. It's just a fact of life. We can't allow our economy to be beaten into the ground continually with these scares. We're going to have to come up with a more sustainable strategy, I think. So just my opinion. I'm really excited going away to Brisbane. It sort of indicates that I've just got to get back on the road and travel. That's what I really want to do. And a Brisbane trip will be very easy because I know Steve's down in Brisbane, so it'd be really good to catch up with him, have a few drinks. He'll introduce you to his mates down there, and then I'll catch up with Sid and Karen up in the Sunshine Coast. So it should be a really good time. So I'm going to make it 3 days up there at this stage, although it's quite a long train trip to travel from Brisbane Central up to the Sunshine Coast. It's going to take 2.5 hours. It's a very long journey. But, you know, I don't mind. I mean, it'll be an adventure because I haven't been to the Sunshine Coast since university. So I'm looking at 45 years probably since I've been to the Sunshine Coast. I remember returning to the Gold Coast when I wanted to travel to Malaysia for one of the first times, and the only place you could actually make a connecting trip to a direct with AirAsia to Malaysia was from the Gold Coast. So I had to fly from Melbourne to the Gold Coast, and I couldn't connect on make a clean connection, so I had to stay overnight. And I went on a bus tour just checking out the area of the Gold Coast. I couldn't believe how much it had grown, but you know, again, it was like 35, 40 years between drinks. And when I went there years ago, I was only a kid of about 15 years of age, and it was like quaint country town stuff. But boy, has that changed! It's just massive now. So many apartment towers, and just the population has just gone crazy. Personally, I wouldn't want to be down there. I'd rather be where I am now. I've got no real interest in going to the Gold Coast, but I'm actually looking forward to checking out the Sunshine Coast, mainly because I know people there. But yeah, it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to that trip. I'm disappointed if I can't make it to Thailand and Phuket. Not that Phuket's my number one destination there anyway. Ultimately, I really want to go back to Vietnam. And I have heard that number 5 bar is back in business, so that's good news because that's my favourite watering hole in Southeast Asia, if not the world. Well, it is the best in the world in my opinion. So it's a fairly unique bar. So I'm really looking forward to going back there, but I'm looking forward to the food in Vietnam, the whole vibe of Saigon, although I still think I'll have to stay in District 7 because the air's quality is much better there, lots of parkland, and it's nowhere near as interesting as central Ho Chi Minh, Saigon, District 1 area, but it is a much more healthy place to be. So I think I'd have to do that and grab bikes into the city, which could be a danger to my life because some of those Grab drivers are absolutely crazy. But I did do it last time I was living in, staying in District 7, so I wouldn't mind doing that again. But that's a fair way off. That'll be the second half of 2022, I think. In the interim, what I might do, if I don't go to Thailand, I think I'll just, assuming that I enjoy myself up in down in Brisbane, I think I might do that more regularly. I might make quite a few domestic trips and stay within Queensland. A lot less hassles. I just don't want to get caught out with lockdowns and all the other regulations that are just making it so dodgy to travel these days. You just can't properly plan. So anyway, on the gardening front, got quite a few things done that I've been putting off. I've got the new greens put in. I've got the candlestick flower. It seems to be quite healthy up on the trellis. It seems to like that, so I've got high hopes for that. And the ferns look okay. I was a bit worried about them getting too much sun, but I decided to transfer them from the pots into the earth, and I've done that with all my plants now, so that's good. So yeah, that's about it. Just like I say, I've got another delivery happening tomorrow with Coles at traditional time in the morning sometime, maybe just before midday, but they'll give me an update and tell me in which hour they're going to turn up. So it's a very good service in that respect. I'm just hoping that they don't have lots of items that have just been scrubbed from the list because they're out of stock, because that happened last time. It was pretty bad. So hopefully this time there won't be any terrible surprises just before they deliver. That is a downside of the whole process. And then on Wednesday, I'm travelling down for my medical consultation that was put off because of the supposed bus strike. I'm still not sure whether the buses actually did strike last Thursday or not. But I'm going to be going down in a couple of days to down there again, and hopefully there won't be any disruption to the transport. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be good. I was going to go and get some paperwork done for the to apply for the visa in Thailand, the 60-day visa. What you have to do is provide them with means of income. Although it's a pretty silly thing they're asking for. They ask for 20,000 baht to see that in your account. I think it's very petty because, you know, 20,000 baht equates to $800, around $800 to $900 Australian. Now, anybody who can afford to travel overseas, I would have thought that they should have, you know, at least a few thousand stashed aside in their bank account. So I think it's rather petty asking for that. I mean, if you already can pay for your airfares, they also want you to provide at least a week's accommodation, proof of that as well. And then, you know, if they're going to be doing that, what's the point of the bank account? Because you can switch money around anyway, so it's a pointless exercise and just a bit of an invasion of privacy and a heavy-handed thing to do, in my opinion. But if you want to travel there, you've got to do all those things, I guess. And you know, the first people that the Thais will blame if there's a flare-up in COVID will be foreigners, will be the Farang. So you can't win. You've got to follow their rules because they're going to basically, you're a guest in their country and they can basically make life pretty unpleasant for you if they want to. So I think they're ridiculously optimistic. Forecast for the number of tourists going there is just going to be shown to be farcical as time goes on, because this latest variant, this latest African variant, is going to throw a huge spanner in the works for their tourist recovery. And like I say, it's already caused havoc in our stock market, which is not surprising because our stock market is incredibly open to volatility right now. So, another thing I wanted to just comment on too is, you know, one thing I really find annoying is when, say, you go onto someone else's YouTube channel and you put a big comment in, you know, quite a well thought out comment. That the last one I did was on a site called Nomad Capitalist. It's a guy who's originally from the Midwest and he now lives overseas. And he's an entrepreneur of some description. I'm not sure what exactly he makes money doing. He hasn't actually specified that, but he seems fairly well to do. And he was comparing countries, and he actually had made some disparaging comments about Australia. He didn't. He says he's been here only for a short time, but he doesn't want to actually. He doesn't have a high regard for it as far as making it easy to do business, and the cost of living here is high, which is true. And the business thing may well be true too. I'm not denying any of that either. But some guy from Australia wrote him a letter. I mean, I don't know who goes to the trouble of writing letters these days, but obviously some people do. And he was disputing a few of the points he was making. I thought it was a pretty poorly thought out letter. And what happened was the guy who actually runs the channel, he was saying, look, I won't make any comments about Australia again if this is how people are going to react. And all the people who posted said, you say whatever you think about Australia. We don't want you holding back with your opinions. Because he hasn't been totally trashing the place. It just isn't one of his preferred places to live as a nomad capitalist. So obviously a nomad capitalist wants a decent amount of infrastructure, doesn't want a high cost of living if they're living in another country. They want something that's actually cheaper than a Western country. And Australia is one of the most expensive countries in the world to live. And that's just not my opinion. That's the opinion of people who have travelled here that I've spoken to overseas. That is the general impression. That's why so many Australians are travelling overseas, or either living overseas or having long trips overseas, because places like Southeast Asia are so attractive, especially if you're a retiree. So I thought he made some very valid points. But what was interesting is that so many people, fellow Aussies, came to his defence and said, you can say whatever you think about the country, that's fine. It's not perfect. There's always things that can be criticised about every country. I think it's a pretty good place to live. I'm much happier living in Australia now that I've moved up here in the northern beaches. I'm much happier living in Queensland, in far north Queensland, than I was in Melbourne. When I come back, last few trips I've come back, I've actually felt good about returning to Cairns as opposed to the way I felt returning to Melbourne. When I used to love flying into Chiang Mai, and I almost felt teary leaving the place, having to come back to Melbourne. But of course the weather here is benign. Now I've got myself my own house. I can do all the gardening and stuff, and the general lifestyle here. I'm right near a beach. I've got nothing to complain. My health is pretty good considering, it shouldn't be, but it is. And my finances are in decent shape at the moment. Touch wood, the market doesn't totally crash. So look, all in all, I'm fairly happy. But there's something very exotic about being overseas, and I love being in Southeast Asia is particularly good because it's very safe, incredibly cheap, fantastic food. I mean, you live like a king on a pauper's budget. It's just ridiculous. And transport is incredibly cheap. For me, without a car, the Grab phenomenon has been an absolute revelation for me. So, yes, I love it over there. I could live over there. It's really just been health issues that have held me back. But if I ever did do that, well, after I've been here for 1 year and I can consider actually renting this place out, I might do it. I don't know. It's a possibility, but I'd say that's remote. It's more likely I'll just be doing shorter trips. But again, with the way the fragility of society now when it comes to viruses and what have you, who knows whether we'll ever be free again, whether we'll really be able to do what we want to do when it comes to travel. I think it's just going to be baby steps. In other words, I'm going to have to basically just expand my domestic travel, which specifically means within Queensland, to make it easier, until such time as people say enough is enough. We want to be able to travel overseas. If we're vaccinated, that should be enough for most people. This is crazy. Oh, and as I say, my annoyance with this is minor compared to people who actually want to make money out of the overseas thing. Like there's a guy in Vietnam. He's an English teacher and he posts a lot of videos, and it's his lifeblood. He can't make the money he used to make now because he organises teachers for English over in Vietnam, and that whole industry's been cut down quite a bit. And in Australia, there are people like my friend who's actually wants to host international students in her home. She gets paid for it. In effect, that's her income stream. Now that may be in jeopardy now with this latest strain. So I'm just bitching about being able to travel, which is good for my mental health, but it's not my financial health that's at stake, and that's even more important, you know. So yeah, tough. Well, look, hopefully things will sort themselves out, and this will be just another blip, and it won't be as bad as people are making out. That's what I'm hoping. But for the time being, I'm going to do a wait and see anyway, and fingers crossed things do improve. I also hear bizarre stuff that Daniel Andrews is a shoo-in to win the next election, which I find absolutely staggering. But I've given up trying to work out Victorians. I mean, they're another species to me at the moment. I just don't get it. Apparently, all the members of his party are leaving in droves. He's had so many resignations, but I don't think it affects him. I think Victorians will just, he could, like he'd be biting the heads off babies in the street and they'd still vote for him. I just don't get it. Totally perplexed. Anyway, please give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, comment on the video, and consider subscribing to my channel. Still trying to get that 700 mark. I can't do it. I'm only a couple of subs away from it. So if you're feeling generous, please subscribe. Anyway, hope it's not too wet in your part of Australia, especially from the east coast. We had a big dump of rain last night, but it's quite pleasant right now. So anyway, have a great day, and I'll stay in touch.